Hi everyone, Barry McFarland. I'm here from My Dharma, and so my Dharma is my duty or my calling. I am a life and transition coach, and if I could summarize in one sentence what I do, I help people connect to their purpose, bring more meaning, joy, and love to their life. And I've discovered 5 keys that unlock the door to that kind of life that we'd like to share with you. And this is Serge Grandbois. Serge has been channeling a non-physical being called Chris for close to 35 years. So I'd like to pass it over to you, Serge. The folks in my network, some of them are very familiar with channeling and what a non-physical being is, and others aren't. So I kind of want them to get to know you and who you are, and how did you start channeling?
From a very young age, I became curious about things we were not supposed to investigate, especially coming from a Roman Catholic family background. You're supposed to go to school and get ready to go into the mainstream of society and get married, have kids, pay your bills, and then die.
That doesn't sound like fun.
No, it's kind of, even at that age I knew it was going to be boring. So I had to have a little something else, and not knowing what that means. And I distinctly remember one time waiting to cross the street, maybe 9 years of age, suddenly wondering about the people waiting also to cross the street, and thinking, geez, I wonder what makes them think the things they think and do the things they do. And then realize, oh, that's much too deep for me. But the question or questions have spurred a lifelong quest, a search for an answer to them. And though I have had received many answers, I also want to make sure that I keep searching, exploring, and discovering new things that are related to that. And eventually, about 33 to 35 years ago, I discovered that I could channel. And it took a little while to understand and come to terms with that phenomenon in my life. But it brought some of the answers I'd been searching for since I was a kid. And with that under my belt, I guess I got a first-hand view of how that changed my life and brought changes to other people's lives. So that is very important to me, and I've been doing it for so long now, it's actually more than half my life. I consider it
Just gonna grab a book.
what
Keep
I'm
talking.
about. I consider it, this is me. Even though I have my own distinct identity and personality and everything else, Chris has his own traits, and by the way, Chris is a name I gave him, and he was fine with it, so we went with that. So it's been a very long journey, and I'm sure it's not finished. I anticipate easily another 20 or more years, maybe 30 years, continued exploration. Which means that there are very few people around that have been channeling for that long. I just happen to be one of those. So I'll turn it over back to Barry and see what happens.
Thank you, Serge. And so some of you might be familiar with the law of attraction and The Secret and Abraham. So Abraham is an entity or an essence like Chris. So, and Esther Hicks channels Abraham, so like Esther's like Serge. So I first, not channeling, didn't come into understanding channeling, but I read this book, Many Lives, Many Masters, by Dr. Brian Weiss quite a few years ago, and and this story is about a psychiatrist who, through working with a client of his through hypnosis, ended up connecting with what I'll say is like an essence like a Chris, which the book, as I said, Many Lives, Many Masters, Dr. Brian Weiss calls them masters. So what it did for me, was just kind of give me that comfort level and that confirmation again that there's more than what we see here, right? And I was always one of these people, as Serge said, about, you know, always wondering, why do I think the way I think? You know, what do I do? Where do I come from? There's got to be more than this. So about, I guess it was 5 years ago, I started my own coaching business. I left my government job. And over those years in working with people, what I noticed was there was usually 5 keys or 5 things that either kept them stuck, one or more of these 5 things. So what I'd like to do is I would like to invite Chris in and then have a conversation and share with you these 5 keys. And then afterwards, we're going to talk about this program that we've developed. This has actually been percolating since I started my business. I've always had this vision of having a year-long coaching and mentoring program where I can help people, again, connect to their purpose, give more meaning to their life, more joy, more love, live life in more ease and grace. So when I met Serge and Chris this year, what a perfect partnership and coming together, enlightened alliance, as Janet and Chris Atwood like to call them. I believe that this is and will take what I can share with you to the next level. So that's the reason for me bringing Chris in, and Serge and Chris in. So if we can invite Chris in.
Well, we trust that you and your audience is comfortable.
Yes, we
And we thank you for your very Facebook-like consideration.
And thank you for yours. So Chris and everyone, if you're just joining, if you are joining Facebook and you're on there live, please, you know, send a little like or a love, and feel free to write comments. This is the first time that we've done this, so I don't know that we'll be able to read the comments and answer them, but I will later. So thank you, Chris, for joining. As you know, because I know you're always kind of waiting in the wings and hearing what's going on, we're going to go over the 5 keys to help people live their life on purpose, live a life filled with more joy, and to take something that you have said before from our last workshop around bring more power, go from powerless to powerful, right? Take control back of their lives. So the first key that I believe to living that kind of life is getting clear, right? So if you don't have a piece of paper and a pen, grab one now, because we're going to go through these five keys, and as we go through from key to key, I'm going to pass it over to Chris as well and get his feedback. So clarity. So clarity is the first key. If you don't know what you want, how are you going to bring it into your life, right? Getting clear about what that purposeful, on fire, joyful life looks like. And in addition to that, being clear about exactly who you are. And what I know is we are more than our body, and there's more than what we see here, and by evidence of Chris and this conversation, we know there's more. So if that's the case, what happened to me when I read that book, Many Lives, Many Masters, was this realization that there was a lot more that I could tap into than was available to me and what I could see and touch. And so when things would happen, there was like this inner knowing that I was more than what I was just experiencing. So bringing it back to from the standpoint of clarity on what do you want, so often what also happens to us is, as we grow up, we wear so many masks, right? the smart student, or the good child, the peacekeeper. I was the peacekeeper in my family, and in keeping everything, and the happy child, and or maybe you're the victim, or the worrier in your family, and so who are you really? Who is your true authentic self? And being able to connect, get out of your head and into your heart and connect with, what do you really love? And one of my the tool that I've come across, like most self-help books say the same thing, just in a different way. And the tool that I came across that did the that helped me the most, or I really connected with, was the passion test. And actually, I have that with me. I brought a few books with me. So, the passion test, written by Janet Bray Atwood and Chris Atwood. This is all about getting out of your head and into your heart and connecting with what it is that you love. And first, getting really, really clear on what it is, as opposed to the how. So often we get stuck in the how, and then that stops us from getting clear. So the first step is getting clear. So, Chris, can you add to that? How would you add to this key of clarity and getting clear?
Indeed. So we will utilize one thing you mentioned, but did not quite mention at the very beginning, when you asked everyone if they could grab a piece of pen and some paper.
Yeah.
So clarity means, do you want a piece of pen and some paper, or do you want a piece of paper and a pen? So that put things in perspective. And it is a very important first stage. Many, many individuals, if not most, have a literal merry-go-round of ideas that encircle their consciousness over and over and over again, wondering if this is what they want. Will this make them happy? Will that make them happy? Will this other thing make them happy? And this often creates a cloud of confusion or fogginess, which withholds the individual's ability to see clearly, clarity, seeing clearly. So let us put it to you in this small way. So would you mind moving the camera just enough to see the chandelier above?
The chandelier above, okay.
Indeed.
Yes.
So this is a nice chandelier, all crystal and very shiny. It is very clear. It has the ability to be dimmed, meaning you can increase the light or decrease the light. So you can put it back now. So we use this because once you can determine a little better what it is that you desire, what it is that you want, what you are aiming for, then you are like this chandelier. The light of your awareness becomes brighter. You can see further into yourself, your connection with reality, and how that can become advantageous to you, as opposed to walking around in a dark room without any proper lighting, whereas many parents have experienced walking into a dark room in the middle of the night, barefoot and stepping on your child's Lego blocks. So it can be a painful experience. And this we want to connect with the title of your website, My Dharma, because your Dharma, your purpose, is to facilitate fulfillment. So your Dharma becomes somebody else's Dharma, and their Dharma becomes your Dharma. So there is a relationship that exists with every single individual that you come in contact with, and that can be cultivated in such a way that as you become clearer, their purpose becomes clearer to them. Because if you are not clear, how can they become clear?
Exactly.
So it is a symbiotic relationship. It works together. There is a togetherness. And that togetherness, that oneness, extends to all individuals that you meet. That is why, without necessarily realizing it, you are far more empathic than you recognize. Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does. And I also like to just point out, like what you said there, for everyone on the line and is going to watch this, is especially as parents, so whether women or men, but as parents, so often it's all about the children, or if you're children and you're concerned about your aging parents. The point you just made there about coming back to self, like sometimes we feel like being selfish is bad, that thinking about ourselves and getting clear about what we want, because as you grow up, I remember it's like, no, not about what I want, it's about what everybody else wants or needs, etc. Like, not to be selfish. And your point there was that need to go in and get clear for yourself, so then it will become clear for the others that you are connected to.